Hi, it's Brett, the herbalist, and welcome along to our cauliflower rice and Brussels sprout recipe. Today we're using about a dozen Brussels sprouts, a whole cauliflower, 2 onions and some garlic. We've also got some cumin and curry powder which we're going to add into this recipe. So first of all, what we're going to do is we're going to chop up these Brussels sprouts. Basically just taking the heads, the stalks off them I should say, so that we can make them soft in a bit of boiling water. So we'll just put those aside in the pot, and I've cheated a little bit here because I'm using pre-boiled water, which makes it a bit quicker. So I've just boiled the jug and just going to cover these Brussels sprouts, and I'm going to put them on the oven and get them cooking. Meantime, let's dice up these onions and my super speedy dicing of onions and garlic, and we'll just put those aside and we'll be using those a bit later on. Now for the cauliflower, what you do with this one is just basically take out the main core and stalk and try and keep it as chunky as possible. I've done a little bit of a rough job here. It's nice to get it into maybe 4 even pieces so that they can be grated. Now what I'm doing here is, this is just the rough cheese grater, which is really good. It can be a little bit tricky, so you'll see some of the florets flying off to the side here. But you can also use for doing this is the grating attachment on your food processor, which will probably make a much quicker, nicer job of it than I'm doing here. So we will end up with quite a few of these little florets falling off to the side, which is going to add a bit extra work to this job. So what I will do is we'll just put the fine stuff in a bowl, and then I'll complete the chopping process with the knife. So again, yeah, this can be a little bit messy. So if you've got a good food processor, might be a bit quicker to do it that way. But ultimately what you're going to end up with is a bowl of cauliflower which is chopped into very fine pieces like rice. Alright, so here we've got the Brussels sprouts. They've been cooking now while I've been chopping things, so they're not far off, but what we'll do now is we'll just heat up the pan and we'll get this cauliflower cooking. So yeah, once this pan warms up, we will drop in a little bit of coconut oil. You can use olive oil for this. In fact, you can even, steam this, but I like to do this little, like fried rice effect. It gives it a bit more flavour. So yeah, garlic and onions, and then there's your teaspoon of what I've used is black cumin seeds. You can use ordinary green cumin seeds as well, but the black ones tend to have just a little bit more of an aromatic flavour, a bit more of an Indian flavour almost. And there in goes your cauliflower. And you probably find that you'll need perhaps a little bit more coconut oil than I put in there initially. Yeah, there's your curry powder, so we'll just mix that curry powder in evenly, just get it all through, and that's heating up nicely now, so we'll just let it steam for a couple of minutes, and meantime we will drain off those Brussels sprouts and just let them breathe for a minute. A drizzle of olive oil on there, just to give it a bit more lubrication so it's not sticking to the pan too much. Adds a bit more flavour too, because this can be a little bit dry. If you're got a lot of cauliflower, it can be a bit dry to eat without a bit of oil added. So there we go. That just took another couple of minutes to heat through. And if you have cauliflower too raw, it can be quite gassy, so it's nice to just heat it through so it's just off the crunch. Crunchy cauliflower, and considering we're having Brussels sprouts with this, can cause a little bit of gas, so good to cook them both reasonably well. And by the way, this is a massive serving for 2 people. It depends on the size of the cauliflower. You might get enough for 3 or 4 people even. And you can also use this as a side dish, but I'm using it here as a main meal. And also we've got quite a few Brussels sprouts. So we've got about probably 10 each going on here, which is quite a handful. And what I'm going to do with this is just drizzle it with olive oil and also a little bit of balsamic vinegar. But you could use tomato salsa, you could use aioli, or if you're really keen, you might even want to try some guacamole on this to help it go down. But really nice with balsamic vinegar, a bit of salt. And there you go. Wonderful, nutritious, filling meal with almost 0 calories. Enjoy.